So I'd really like to welcome you to our open evening this evening. I'm obviously very aware that a number of families have been able to tour the school during normal hours of operation in recent weeks, and that's been fantastic. We've actually put on more tours this year than we ever have before. Due to the demand, we sort of had to put on an extra week of tours with families, and I'd really like to thank you for taking the time out to come and see our school. Those of you who came along to our sort of live sort of physical open evening, if you like, actually on the site this year, we'll have got a good sense of the school, both in terms of the high quality staff and the interaction that they provide, and how welcoming they are for our youngsters, but also a real sort of sense and sort of understanding of what our core values are, and what sort of drives the school forward and what we're all about. Obviously, open evenings are a bit of a show. I said that on the evening itself. We show you our best side, and that'll be the same at every school, and of course we're going to do that. But we do feel as though we can validate sort of the messages that we give out on open evening by allowing you to come and tour the site, when we're in full operation, so you can get that real sense of what the school is all about. So I would like to thank all of the parents who came along, and the pupils, of course, who came along for that hour and a half, depending on who you had on the tour. If it was me, it was probably more like an hour and a half. So apologies for that. But I would like to thank you for that. And obviously, what came through really from parents is that in some cases they weren't able to access our open evening on the night. And so this is the reason why we've put this extra event on this evening. Again, just to meet the demands from parents, to give you as much information as possible. Again, I said this on the open evening itself, and I also sort of said it on the tours as well. Our job is to give you as much information as possible over the course of this month, really, for you to be able to make an informed decision as to which school is the right one for your youngster over the next 5 years. It's an incredibly important decision, and one that you have to get right. And whilst in some cases it can feel a bit like a sales pitch, I certainly don't want it to be like that here. We'll tell you, as much as we possibly can. Nothing's off the table really, and we'll give you all that information so that you can make that right choice, and so that you can be secure and sort of safe in the knowledge that you've made the right choice for your young person, for their education over the course of the next 5 years. So I always sort of like to start with my own Penketh journey, really, because in many ways it's sort of interlinked with the school journey. I started here nearly 20 years ago now as an NQT, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to sort of retain my place at the school, and sort of work my way through different positions to the point where I was offered the opportunity to take on the school as principal in September 2017. And at that point, the school was probably at its lowest point. We had our worst ever outcomes in that summer. Reputationally, I know in the community we weren't great. The climate for learning at the school wasn't fantastic either, which is obviously a huge contributory factor to why the outcomes weren't really where we wanted them to be. And ultimately, I was offered the chance to become the principal, and I was honoured to do so. And I say that because having known the staff here for a long time, and the vast majority of our staff have been here for a number of years, I know the quality of those staff. I know how dedicated and committed they are to our youngsters, and making sure they get the very best opportunities to be successful and to develop as young people into adulthood, as they approach college and university and employment. So I knew that we had everything that was needed, all the ingredients here, really to be a successful school. We just possibly needed to look at what it is that we were doing, change our expectations and our standards, and align our expectations of our youngsters with their capabilities, because our youngsters are exceptionally capable, and they deserve the very best educational opportunities. And I know that we have a staff here who are dedicated and committed to providing that, and have an appetite for improving our provision all the time. So I was thrilled to take that on. I was honoured to take that on, and drive that improvement alongside the staff to make sure that our youngsters got the very best opportunities. So really, from that first inset day in September 2017, when we came together as a staff, and we sort of decided to change trajectory and change what we were doing. We carved out a vision that really still underpins everything that we do today, and it's founded on 3 principles. We want to develop pupils academically. That goes without saying. We're a school, that's our primary function, and ultimately that's why you send your children here, to get an education. We wanted to sort of develop them holistically and make sure we gave them wider opportunities to develop a greater skill set that would serve them well in the future, and hopefully allow them to develop some passions for life along the way. And we wanted to ultimately ensure that they have good life chances, and by that, we mean that they've got every opportunity of being successful in life, when they leave us and go to college, university, employment, whatever their future looks like. We want to make sure that they've built a good foundation here to allow them, along with their academic qualifications, that wider skill set, to allow them to be successful and allow them to drive forward. So our sort of core values and the foundations with which we operate, really, the first thing is that we view this as a shared goal and aspiration, and a shared sort of process with yourselves, with families at home. You obviously want your youngsters to be successful and happy, and that's exactly what we want, and we view that very much as a shared journey. We talk about close relationships with families and our local community. We'll talk later about our pupil admission number, which, to a certain extent, controversially, we lowered our plan last year, and we'll talk more about that later and how we arrived at that decision. But we want the school to feel like a big primary school. Obviously, you're coming from a relatively small setting in primary, and then pupils arrive at secondary schools with thousands of pupils, and ultimately the sort of dynamic between home and school changes, and we don't necessarily want that to be the case. We want to have that close relationship with pupils and close relationship with yourselves, so that between us we can navigate this difficult period that the pupils have, adolescence, whilst also trying to gain qualifications and put themselves in a really good place to be successful. So we do view it as a shared process, and we like to have those relationships and be able to have dialogue with yourselves, and hopefully those relationships will facilitate success for pupils. We do have a culture of high expectations and standards. I think people who came on the tour and witnessed that, people are always shocked with how calm it is at our school now, and I know some people who came to our school who are now parents, commented that it does feel very different at our school now. We've changed that culture. We have a climate for learning that does sort of facilitate success. It is built on that expectation, so we can ensure that the teachers can teach and pupils can engage in learning. And it's all about making sure that our climate for learning is academically focused, and that pupils understand they have a role to play in ensuring that the pupils learn in the classroom. We want to challenge and sort of inspire pupils with our curriculum, and Ofsted alluded to that in the report, that we have sort of wide-ranging and interesting activities that really sort of motivate our learners. And we want to make sure that we've got our sort of strong support networks and pastoral care as well. Obviously, priority number one every single day is ensuring that pupils are happy and healthy, and occasionally pupils need propping up when they fall over, and that's got to be our job as well. And I think to go back to that sort of idea of having close relationships, if we have that community feel about the school, and our learners are known, and we know them well, and we know you well, then ultimately, if something does go wrong, then we can notice quickly, we can have good conversation with yourselves, and we can make sure we can put the support in place to support our young people where they need that help. So where does the school sort of currently sit? What is that current picture? Well, we have a climate of improving results. So we'll talk really about outcomes at the school in 2 distinct phases. The first one is really up to the end of 2019, which is the last time that the GCSEs were held nationally, in the sense that pupils actually undertook assessments. Obviously, the last couple of years, because of the pandemic, has been a slightly different picture with teacher assessed grades. So we'll talk about that in 2 different phases, really. So the first one is between 2017 and 2019. We had 2 consecutive significant uplifts in outcomes, and as a result of that, we had our best ever outcomes in 2019. And that represented our best ever progress, best ever proportion of pupils achieving both English and maths, best ever proportion of pupils getting 5 A-star to C as it was, or 9 to 4 as it is now, including English and maths. Our best ever average grade. So all of those indicative sort of statistics and figures around the school's performance were improved significantly, and that was a really important step on the journey. To go from a school that had its worst ever outcomes in 2017 to 2 years later having its best ever outcomes really demonstrates the quality of the work that the staff put in, and the capacity for improvement really, and goes back to that appetite that staff have for improving the school to make sure that people have got better opportunities and better educational experiences as well. And visually, sort of, if we represent that, you can see here that in all those key strands of progress, both Progress 8 overall, which is the measure of pupils' performance across a range of subjects, 8 subjects, their performance in maths specifically, their performance in English specifically, their performance in EBAC, which is the study of maths, English, science, a humanity, either history, geography, and a modern foreign language, and also their performance in the open basket, as it's called, which is essentially any other subject that sits out of that EBAC suite of subjects. You can see that we've made improvements in every single area across that period, and we've sort of done that with a really academically rigorous curriculum. So 67% of our pupils up to the point of 2019 were undertaking that EBAC suite of subjects. And I think traditionally there's been a view of our school, and I can understand why, as being a performing arts school. We were an arts specialist college about maybe 12 years ago, but the school is in a very different position now. And if you look at the performance of those strong academic subjects, you can see that significant improvements, but also the vast majority of our pupils undertaking that really academically strong curriculum, and I think that really does challenge that viewpoint that we are an art school, because that is a bit of an outdated perception now, really. And then if we look at that in a second phase, where we bring in sort of 2020, 2021, you can see that we've continued to make improvements in those areas. And I think obviously the reason that we've looked at it in 2 different phases, and I think this is important, is we recognise that pupils haven't sat GCSEs, so really we can't compare outcomes in the last 2 years to outcomes where pupils are sitting terminal exams as they sort of traditionally do. And I know some schools have sort of said publicly, about their outcomes improving and best ever outcomes, etc. And our outcomes have continued to improve. We just haven't necessarily sort of publicly put that out there, and we haven't done that really because we don't think it's a fair comparison. But obviously, parents have asked us that question, so we just want to highlight the point that again, our results have continued to improve over the last couple of years, really, beyond 2019. And again, you can see that the number of pupils undertaking that EBAC entry is 78%. So even in 2019, the proportion of our pupils undertaking that academically rigorous curriculum was double that of the national average, and significantly higher than the Warrington average. That's only continued to grow, and again remains significantly above both national and Warrington average as well. So we're really in a secure place with our curriculum, and obviously you can see that across that sort of 4-year period, we have had those significant improvements in outcomes. So that's sort of what we've achieved, but quite rightly, parents often ask us, well, how have you done that? How have you sort of turned the fortunes of the school around in that way? And I think, without a shadow of a doubt, we've improved the learning focus. Everything is focused and related to academic performance, and pupils understanding that they're there to be in school, to learn, and to sort of make progress. As I said before, we have those high expectations of pupils, and that's across all aspects of school life. Whether that's engagement in the classroom, whether that's sort of in relation to their uniform, how we expect them to engage in enrichment sessions. We have high expectations of pupils because really our pupils are capable of achieving great things, and so ultimately, we should expect that of them, because otherwise they're going to underperform. We've recruited high quality practitioners. Our staff turnover isn't really big. I have to say, most of our staff have been here for a number of years, but where there does become an opportunity where staff move on, normally for promotion, for example, then we make sure that we have a stringent recruitment process, and we only recruit really high quality practitioners to make sure that our pupils are receiving the best deal in the classroom. And we've had a huge focus on refining teaching and learning across across the school. So sort of in the background, a huge undertaking of professional development for staff, right the way from sort of 2017 onwards. We invest a lot of time in evidence-based research and making sure that staff have the opportunity to engage with the most current thinking and the best thinking around education, and that really can only benefit pupils in the classroom as well. And we also have increased opportunities for pupils to stimulate engagement as well. So we have significant enrichment opportunities that pupils can engage in across the school, ranging from sort of Latin, Chinese Mandarin, golf, needlework, running club, you sort of name it. There's something for everybody really, and we sort of had all of those clubs available so that people can build those passions for life, can be exposed to things that maybe they've never experienced before, but also to build that wider skill set and also operate in a different way socially across the school as well, and extend their learning beyond the classroom. And so we've spoken about a curriculum that obviously is rooted in academic rigour, and I think that's fair to say. But we do have a curriculum that meets the needs of our range of pupils. So there are a number of courses that would suit the range of all of our learners, so we can make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be successful. And we're always adding to that as well. So this year we've added a number of courses to our portfolio that pupils could pick from at GCSE, including statistics, economics, health and social, food technology has made a welcome return to the fold as well. So there's a number of courses that we're always looking to add, really to swell our offer, so that pupils have a diverse range of opportunities to pick from, that hopefully will facilitate their success and that their chosen career sort of further on down the line. Pupils are extremely capable, we've sort of mentioned that before, and so there is that strong academic focus, and there is a heavy focus on some of those academic subjects. We do spend a lot of time studying those EBAC courses, both at Key Stage 3 and also at Key Stage 4, but we have that range of creative subjects to sort of supplement the core curriculum as well. And on our, as I mentioned before, we were previously an creative arts college, and that remains a strength of the school. What we've actually sort of done is built all the other aspects around that existing strength. So it's not as though we've taken our focus off that strength of the school. What we've actually done is we've built up the other subjects around it. And I think as well, a great piece of work that staff have undertaken recently is that they've remapped sort of all of their curriculums. They spent sort of 18 months, 2 years in the background, really thinking about the best way of structuring their curriculum from day one in year 7 all the way through to year 11, so that pupils had the best curriculum experience as well. And I think it's important to note that we've got a really strong remote offer as well. Obviously, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and there is occasionally a call for pupils to work from home, should they have the need to self-isolate, and really we've built a really strong remote offer that allows pupils to keep pace with their peers in the classroom, still get input from the teaching staff, so that they can make sure that when they return to school they haven't missed anything and they can carry on with their studies. And so lots of information there about what it is that we've done over the course of the last 4 years or so, and the steps that we've taken to really address the needs of the school and improve the provision. And ultimately that resulted in not only the best ever outcomes that the school had had in 2019, but also our first ever good judgments as a school in nearly 15 years. And that was a significant milestone for the school. I think it was, to receive that after sort of 2.5 years of the journey, I think was significant, because it showed really the quality of the work that the staff had undertaken. It validated the work that they'd undertaken as well, and to sort of arrive at that position in a very, very short period of time was very, very important. Not only because it meant that our pupils were getting a better deal, but also it meant that the staff could see sort of the fruits of their labour really, and it meant that we were moving in the right direction, which allowed us to focus on further improvements. It doesn't mean that we'll sort of rest on that now. It really just whets the appetite for further improvements on behalf of our young people. And I feel as though there's sort of 2 or 3 things that I wanted to pull out of our report, and I'm sure parents have read that and got a clear sense of what Ofsted saw during their time here, and a good sense of what we'd achieved over the 2 to 3 years. But there was 2 or 3 things that I felt were really, really important that sort of resonated with me and really sort of reflect what I see every day from our staff and how they sort of work with our pupils. And the first was that the head teacher and trustees promote the highest of ambitions for all pupils. They are determined to provide the best for them, and I am. But really, that's a reflection on everyone at the school, and I think that's important to say. Our staff have the highest of ambitions for all pupils. They are determined to provide the best for them, and I see that on a day-to-day basis. They are incredible. They are second to none, and for me, a real strength of the school is the people. Same with any organisation. Organisations are about people, and you can quite clearly see every single day that our staff do everything they possibly can to provide the best for our young people and make sure they've got the opportunity to reach the highest of ambitions. And quite clearly, Ofsted sort of recognised the hard work and dedication of staff, and they felt that really did contribute to the quality of education that pupils receive. It was tangibly visible that staff go above and beyond and do everything they possibly can to provide opportunities for our young people. And possibly the most important comment for me, coming out of the whole Ofsted report, is that pupils now benefit from a good quality of education day in, day out. And staff had really worked as hard as they possibly could to really think about how we can make sure that the quality of education was right from day one in year 7 all the way through to year 11. And we spoke before about the curriculum work that staff had undertaken sort of in the background, rewriting curriculums, really thinking about how they could sequence learning and how they could make the most out of progression across that 5 years that the pupils are with us. To make sure that they got a good quality of education, not just in year 11 as we approach exams, but every single day, so that when they got to year 11, they were well prepared for the rigours of those exams and prepared to be successful. And so to further to that, Ofsted also recognised sort of the breadth of opportunities that the pupils have at the school, both within the curriculum and sort of outside of that as well. Opportunities that sort of stretch and excite pupils' thinking so that they can achieve especially well. And I think throughout the inspection there was a real sense from the team that the hard work of staff, sort of the visible hard work, but also the work in the background, really provided our young people with fantastic opportunities and a really good quality of education to make sure that they were sort of well placed and well catered for. And on the back of a really positive inspection, which was well received, and obviously our best ever outcomes in 2019 as well, an agency who write reports around the sort of state of certain aspects of governmental life, government initiatives IQ, in their education report, they recognised us as one of the 100 top performing and improving schools for 2020, which was a significant achievement for the school, and again further validated the work that we'd done, and really something we could celebrate following on from the Ofsted inspection, to be in that sort of prestigious list. Obviously there's thousands of schools across the country, so to be recognised in that group was fantastic and really gave us a bit of a lift, really, just as the sort of pandemic was in full swing, to really make sure that we could continue to drive through those improvements regardless of the challenges that we faced. And then to really sort of top off that sort of year of celebration of that first phase of improvements at the school, we were notified that our maths department had been awarded the Maths Department of the Year at the National TESS Awards, which is a prestigious event that celebrates education nationally. So we were absolutely thrilled, and I think it was well deserved sort of accolade for a department who had really driven improvements at the school to not only sort of become one of the highest performing departments in the school, but certainly support learners to be achieving above national average as well, and that journey of 4 or 5 years for that department to go from don't mind me saying, sort of results that they weren't all too happy with, to being a really, really high academically rigorous department and being recognised on a national basis was fantastic. And once again, I think that really addresses that issue that we're not as we used to be just a a performing arts school. We've really got many strengths, both in those academically rigorous curriculums, the creative sort of art subjects, and also some of those wider opportunity subjects and vocational courses as well. We really perform well across a range and a breadth of subjects, so that pupils, regardless of what they want to pursue, have got an opportunity to be involved in departments that are high performing and can ensure their success. I think it's vital that we mention we are part of the Challenge Academy Trust, which is a sort of group of schools that are spread across Warrington. We were founded really from a like-minded group of schools that really wanted to impact and provide better opportunities for the young people across the town. And working in a collection of schools, across the trust has brought a number of opportunities for us. I mean, first and foremost, we're a cross-phase MAT, or multi-academy trust, and that's to say that we've got schools that are at primary level, secondary level, and all the way through to Priestley College, and that means that we've got that real cross-phase focus to think about how we can influence education from the moment people start school at the age of 5, sort of all the way through to when they're 19, when they're leaving to go to employment in university. So it's a really collaborative trust. We think about those education pathways. We can think carefully about transition and how we can support learners as they move between the different phases of school. And we are absolutely passionate about providing the best educational opportunities for our young people across the town. And that collaboration really has sort of stimulated improvements in all of our schools. And that sense of having sort of critical friends, but also that support network as well can provide a range of opportunities. For example, working with Oxford University and on Oxnet to make sure that our youngsters are getting sort of higher education input from some of the best academics around. So it's been absolutely fantastic experience to be part of that trust for the last 5 years or so, and long may that continue. So a message to the VIPs really, these are the most important people. Part of this presentation are the pupils, and obviously you'll be making decisions about what school it is that you want to join in September. And I think it's important that you understand what you will get from Penketh when you join us next year. First of all, you'll get a dedicated and committed staff. We've highlighted that they will do everything they possibly can to make sure you are well looked after and that you get the best possible opportunities to be successful. You've got amazing support networks and pastoral care. If you've got a problem, there's a great network of people who will support you, whatever that problem is, to make sure that we give you the support that you need. You've got an exciting curriculum, both in terms of in the classroom and the things that you'll learn in class and the sort of academic side of school, but also from an extracurricular perspective and all of those enrichment activities that you can undertake to really build those passions for life and build your wider skill set as well. Our dual curriculum model will support you to develop that enhanced skill set, and that's a really exciting aspect of school life this year. And we're working with some national companies who are really interested in what we're doing here from a sort of enrichment and wider curriculum aspect. So I think the next 18 months, 2 years, is going to be very exciting in that regard, and you'll be a big part of that. And I think it's important that you understand that you have to come here prepared to be successful. It is a school that is absolutely focused on your success and making sure you've got a really strong foundation for the rest of your life. So you need to adopt the right attitude, and we're very clear on that. And you need to be prepared to be successful and challenge yourself to sort of strive to make that progress every single day. But also you need to become a valued member of our school community. That's really important to us, that we have a strong community. Everyone who's at the school is a valued member, and we want to make sure that you feel part of that school community and you get the most out of the 5 years that you're here. I think it's really important that we discuss our pupil admission number. It's been I guess a bit of a controversial issue over the last couple of years. Normally when a school becomes successful and they start to become more popular, they choose to admit more pupils. I think obviously in the last couple of years, parents will know that we've reduced our pupil admission number. We've gone the other way, and we actually take fewer pupils each year. And really the reason that we've done that is because we do value our school community. It's important to us. We want pupils to be known in the school. We want to make sure that we know them well. We have a good relationship, so that if anything does go wrong or pupils maybe sort of have a slight dip, we can recognise that immediately because we know them so well. And similarly, we want to make sure that we've got that really strong relationship with parents and families at home as well, just to make sure that again, part of that shared aspiration, we can be working together to ensure that pupils have every opportunity to be successful, and we can provide the support that you and they need across the 5 years. So really, that was our rationale for the thinking. We realised that's caused some concern and some problems. What I will say is that we always try to accommodate as many pupils as we can. We did admit 20 over plan this year. We do have a waiting list, and we are in dialogue with the local authority around local need as well. I am absolutely aware that there is growth in the town, and sort of houses are being built, so we will have those conversations. But I just wanted to mention that a few parents asked around what the conditions for entry were. I mean, obviously, first choice preferences obviously get preference over over second and third choices, and then we have a range of criteria that relate to siblings, looked after children, those with high level SEND needs, and would potentially come with an EHCP. They would all feature within our admissions criteria, but we will always try where we can to accommodate as many pupils. And if you do have any concerns about getting into our school or securing your place, please do contact us. You've got Miss Silver's email address, openevening@penketheigh.org, or contact the school via reception, and one of us can have a conversation with you about that. So just the last couple of points from me, really. Whenever we do tours or we undertake our open evenings, a lot of the parental feedback is really positive, and obviously quite similar in the sense that parents feel as though it's warm and welcoming. It's quite interpersonal, and staff really sort of engage with pupils well, and they get that sense that we are passionate about the school and the pupils, and that we look after pupils with good care and support. And more recently, I guess as well, since the developments at the school, there's been a clear sense that the climate for learning is strong, and it's very focused and calm around the site. When we're doing tours, we always make sure we show what a lesson changeover feels like when 1,000 children are moving across the site at any given point, and our feedback is always that it's calm, and that it's purposeful, and that's great because parents need to feel that sense of security in the decision that when they send pupils to our school, that you send them to your sort of most precious thing in the world to us every single day. You need that reassurance that it is calm and safe around the school site, and I'm really pleased that the parents feel that. I think obviously in the last 3 or 4 years, some of the points that have been made on the negative are results are not good or not improving. Hopefully we've been able to demonstrate this evening that is no longer the case. And I know there are some legacy perceptions about the school, but hopefully again we've been able to show you that in the last 3 to 4 years there's been significant and rapid improvements. That we're an art school, and we don't deal well with academic subjects. Again, hopefully we've been able to put that issue to bed, and you've been able to see that that's no longer a point at the school. And also buildings aren't as nice as other schools. Yes, I can't argue with that on that point at this moment in time. And I think it's really important that you understand that I'm aware of that. I think the most important thing is what happens in the classroom, and what happens at the school, and probably our buildings don't match the provision and the quality of education at the school at the moment. But we are always pushing for investments and redevelopment of the site, and we're hoping that obviously in the not too distant future there will be some news around improvements at the site that mean that sort of the environment is more conducive to sort of modern education, and really matches sort of the provision that the pupils are exposed to every day in the classroom. So tonight and beyond, I'm obviously mindful that we're approaching the sort of end of the window when you have to submit your form. So really this slide was probably predominantly focused at more towards our open evening that happened in September, but there is still a little bit of time. Open evenings traditionally are the start of a process where you will tour different schools, and you'll start thinking about which school represents you and represent your core values. It's a careful selection process, and you've got to choose the school that is best for you. And I always tell this story about my own personal experience. I was adamant that my son was going to a particular school. I knew exactly where he was going. I'd read all the reports, I'd looked at all the data, and I was very clear on that until I went to the school in question. And I very much got the sense that it didn't suit him. I just didn't get that vibe about the school that I thought it would be the best place for him. And so when we went to a different school, which was still a good school, and we visited that, I was clear from the feeling that I got that school represented what I felt education should be about. And I'm pleased to say that he's absolutely thriving in that school environment. So it is a careful selection process. You do need to think about sort of, does the school's values represent what you feel education should be? Does it represent your core values? And if that is Penketh, that's fantastic. If it's not Penketh, then obviously that's also okay, because you need to make the right choice for you and your child. And Open Evenings, pretty much are a show. So we always invite parents to come and see us in action, and I'm pretty confident the vast majority of people on this evening will have done so, and you will have really understood that the messages we put across tonight are absolutely tangibly visible on the ground. We would recommend that you follow us on Penketh, on Twitter at Penketh School. You don't need to be a member of Twitter for that. You can just go to Google and put in Twitter at Penketh School, and you can view our account. The reason that we would sort of recommend that is because we are prolific with our tweets, and you'll get a good flavour of what's going on across the school on a day-to-day basis. So I'd just like to thank you for taking this time really to come to this open evening event, and for all those parents who've come to tours and also the physical events as well. Hopefully we've been able to provide you with as much information as possible, and hopefully we've been able to give you as much sort of insight into what we're all about. And we're now going to move on to a question and answer process, so that we can address any queries that maybe we've not picked up, or things that you want to explore in a bit more detail. So thanks again, and we'll head over to the Q&A.